Maritime English. Conversations on Merchant Vessel. Chapter 9, Preparations for Departure. 92 Station on the bridge for leaving port. 1. Captain, 3rd Officer, let's test the engine. 3rd Officer, yes, sir. Speaking through the transceiver, aft station. 2nd Officer, this is the bridge, do you read me? I will now test the engine. Is the gangway clear?
2nd Officer, bridge, this is the aft station. I hear you loud and clear. We are ready to test the engine.
3rd Officer, roger. 2nd Officer. By telephone to the engine room, hello, you may test the engine now. Thank you. To the captain, we are ready to test the engine, sir. Captain, go ahead. The 3rd mate tests the engine. The engine room calls. 3rd Officer, hello, bridge. We are finished testing the engine. Everything's normal and ready. To the captain, the test is finished and the engine is ready, sir. Captain, thank you. Put the engine on standby. 3rd Officer, repeating, engine on standby. Moving the engine telegraph, engine on standby, sir. Captain, thank you.
The 2nd mate comes to the bridge, with the pilot. 2nd Officer, Captain, here is the pilot, sir.
Captain, good morning, pilot.
Pilot, good morning, Captain. Is the engine ready?
Captain, yes, it is.
Pilot, thank you. I'll show you how to unmoor and unberth. Will you show me your pilot card first?
Captain, yes, here it is.
Test the engine. To check the proper functioning of the engine, start the engine. I hear you loud and clear. Communication is good. I can hear you well. On standby, getting ready for some action, ready and waiting. Unmoor, to release the mooring of a ship. Unberth, to release a ship from its berthing position. Pilot card, ship's detailed information given to the pilot. 93 Station on the bridge for leaving port. 2. Pilot, Captain, the 4 station and aft station can single up now with the headline and the stem line.
Captain, roger. To fore and aft by transceiver, fore and aft, single up with the headline and stern line. Chief Officer, this is the 4 station. Roger. Single up with headline.
2nd Officer, this is the aft station. Roger. Single up with stern line.
Chief Officer, bridge, this is 4. Single up done, sir.
2nd Officer, bridge, this is aft. Single up done, sir.
Pilot, now, let all lines go.
Captain, fore and aft, let all lines go. Chief Officer, bridge, this is 4. Letting all lines go.
2nd Officer, bridge, this is aft. Letting all lines go.
Chief Officer, bridge, this is 4. All lines away. Lines clear, sir.
2nd Officer, bridge, this is aft. All lines away. Lines clear, sir.
Captain, fore and aft. All lines clear, thank you.
Pilot, thank you, Captain. Slow ahead engine and midships, please.
Captain, pilot, a small boat is coming out of the pier.
Pilot, yes. I believe it will turn right and proceed toward the East Passage and won't go straight. But we will watch it carefully.
Captain, it's hoisting its destination flag now. The boat will be entering the East Passage.
Pilot, will you prepare the starboard anchors so that we can drop it in case of emergency? We can use the anchor to deaden her speed.
Captain, roger. I'll put the anchor on standby. It can be dropped by loosening the brig.
Single up, to release the mooring lines one by one till just one remains. 4. front, forward, section of a ship. Let all lines go, to release all the ropes and cables holding the ship. Midships, setting the ship's course in its central position. Proceed, to advance, move forward. Destination flag, a flag signal used in navigation to show where a vessel is heading. Deaden her speed, reduce the ship's speed.
94 Preparing to leave port in E.C.R. First engineer, good morning. Well, we're finally leaving. You're probably a little tense, since this is your first standby when leaving port. Third engineer, yes, a little. Last night I read the standby manual for leaving port thoroughly, and I reread all of the manuals for the engine room operations. I'm excited about starting up the engine, but I feel a little nervous. When do we start the standby navigation watch for leaving port? First engineer, we usually start 1 hour before leaving. We are supposed to inform everyone in the engine room department 15 minutes before we start the watch. Today we'll start at 9 o'clock. Third engineer, it's about 15 minutes before the watch. Should I start the diesel generator now? Second engineer, we'll start the number 2 diesel generator locally because it hasn't been used for a long time. If it starts normally, I'll let you know. Then, you should turn on the generator's air circuit breaker. Third engineer, first engineer, I'd like to learn the procedure for starting the generator locally. May I go with the second engineer? First engineer, yeah, I think that would be a good idea. Second engineer, okay. Did you bring a transceiver with you so we can communicate? We use channel 2 in the engine room. Check that your transceiver is set to channel 2, we'll come back here after we start the generator. Let's go. First engineer, be careful and make sure the third engineer understands everything.
E.C.R, engine control room. Tense, uptight, worried, being very attentive almost to the point of being nervous. Nervous, lacking composure, feeling worried and unsure. Navigation watch, a shift duty, usually watching out for other ships or possible danger. Diesel generator, machine for producing electricity powered by diesel fuel. Air circuit breaker, a device to cut off the power source.
95 Warming up the main engine. First engineer, okay. People, we will be setting sail in 1 hour. Let's start warming up the main engine and prepare for departure. Third engineer, go down to the engine room and stand by. Watch the second engineer and ask him any questions that you have about any of the operations. Second engineer, should we use the number 1 group pumps instead of the number 2 group, since the number 1 group is already being used? First engineer, yes, let's do that. Second engineer, keep your eyes on seawater service pump number 1 delivery pressure when you switch pumps because the number 2 pump's delivery valve often sticks open and then can't be shut. Second engineer, yes, sir. I'll call you on the transceiver when I'm in place. As usual, we'll start and stop the pumps from the engine room. First engineer, okay. Everyone leaves and begins communicating by transceiver. Second engineer, lubricant oil pumps, fuel oil pumps, fresh water cooling pumps, all normal, sir. I'll start warming up the main engine now. First engineer, roger. Watch the number 3 cylinder exhaust valve that we replaced. Second engineer, roger. Third engineer, you can start feeding the cylinder lubricant oil and start turning the main engine, sir. Everything here is normal. There is no sign of any trouble, sir. Not like the time when water from the fresh water cooling jacket was spraying from the main engine indicator valve. Second engineer, the number 3 exhaust valve on the number 3 cylinder is normal and working well. First engineer, roger, everything is normal. We will be finished testing the engine after she turns for 30 minutes. Third engineer, the engine test will run for 30 minutes. Roger.
Number 1 Group Pumps, one of the duplex systems. Delivery pressure, pressure measured at the exit port. Lubricant oil pumps, pump for circulating lubrication oil. Fuel oil pump, pump used for delivering fuel oil. Fresh water cooling pumps, pump used for sending out fresh water used for cooling purposes. Cylinder lubricant oil, type of oil used to ensure smooth movement of the cylinder. Fresh water cooling jacket, a sleeve or structure provided for cooling a machine with circulating fresh water. Indicator valve, a valve which shows the flow of liquid inside an enclosed system.
96 Testing the main engine. First engineer, second engineer, this is first engineer. How do you read me? Second engineer, first engineer, this is second engineer. Loud and clear, sir. Over. First engineer, we'll start testing the engine now. Remove the turning gear and prepare to test the engine. Second engineer, starting engine test, Roger. Preparations have been completed. First engineer, we're ready to test the engine. Please start the air run. Over. First engineer, Roger. Starting air run. After the air run is finished, air run finished. Second engineer, air run, finished, Roger. All main engine indicator valves are shut, sir. Please test the engine now, over. First engineer, Roger. We will first test the engine ahead then astern. Second engineer, main cylinder cover, exhaust valves, fuel pump, starting air pipe are all normal, sir. Third engineer, turbocharger is normal, sir. First engineer, Roger. Then I'll test the engine ahead. Second engineer, something's wrong with the fuel regulating rack for the number 2 cylinder fuel pump. All of the others are normal, sir. First engineer, Roger. Something's wrong with the fuel regulating rack for the number 2 cylinder fuel pump. Watch it closely later when we increase the main engine's RPM. Well, that does it. We're finished testing the engine.
Turning gear, gear used for rotating a mechanical unit. Air run, test running the engine using compressed air without supplying fuel exhaust valves, a valve fitted to an engine through which combustion products are let out. Turbocharger, originally a turbo supercharger, an exhaust-driven turbine is used to maintain the intake pressure. Fuel regulating rack, a device used to adjust the flow of fuel.
97 Increasing the main engine speed. First engineer, second engineer, I'll increase the main engine's speed. Is the fuel regulating rack for the number 2 cylinders fuel pump working okay now? Second engineer, it's working normally. Third engineer, first engineer, even though we have enough boiler water, we only have 70 tons of fresh water. Should I turn on the fresh water generator? First engineer, I'll start it after we finish increasing the main engine's speed and get it set. Third engineer, yes, sir. Then I'll only start the ejector pump. Number 1 oiler, first engineer, this is number 1 oiler. In case of rough weather, I've finished lashing the movable equipment in the engine room, in the steering room, and on the deck. First engineer, thank you, number 1 oiler. We've already accelerated the engine and reached the set revolution. Will you take care of the soot blow and turn off the auxiliary boiler? Then, with the second engineer and oiler B, would you secure the boiler? Number 1 oiler, yes, sir. I'll do it right away. First engineer, second engineer, since we've changed the fuel oil in the number 2 diesel generator from heavy fuel oil to diesel, we can switch off the air circuit breaker for the generator and run it with only the turbo generator. Second engineer, start running the turbo generator on its own. Roger. I've started the exhaust gas economizer solid brush soot cleaning system. Third engineer, I've started the fresh water generator. First engineer, Roger. The captain says we can start the M0 operation from 1700 hours. All hands, let's do the M0 check.
Boiler water, water supply for the boiler. Fresh water generator, a machine which removes salt from seawater and makes distilled water. Ejector pump, a pump using the ejection force of water or air to remove something from a pipe. Soot blow, a forced air system for eliminating collected soot. Air circuit breaker, a device to cut off the power source. Turbo generator, a generator driven by a turbine. Exhaust gas economizer, a device for tapping the heat of exhaust gas. Thanks for watching. If you like my content, please don't hesitate to press the like button. If you want to be updated when I post new videos, hit subscribe. I hope you enjoy.